What's up, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing
Everyone,
great.
this is Adam Rose. He is a friend of mine, a client of mine, and Adam lives in Del Norte and Gasky. You've been here about 6 years, and the reason I want to talk to Adam is because he is a fairly new to Del Norte, an entrepreneur, businessman, raising a family, and so I just kind of looking to get some perspective and some thoughts about what your Del Norte experience has been like so far. So tell us a little bit about your move to Del Norte. Del Norte.
Yeah. Well, we were living in, gosh, it's a long, kind of a long story, but my wife and I met when I was living in the Bay Area, and shortly after we met, we moved in together in the Bay Area, and then we quickly realized that based on the industries that we were working in and kind of what we wanted out of life, that really wasn't a place for us to be long term. So we kind of got a wild hair and decided we'd move up to Portland, which we thought would be much different, and for many ways it was. But moved into an apartment there, and really again didn't totally fall in love with the area. Or I mean, it's beautiful there. Don't get me wrong, but just for us and what we were looking for, kind of a slower pace of life, more exposure to nature. It ended up just not working out for us, and so again we were getting married shortly after that, probably 2013 or 14. We decided that we would move into a house that Sarah's father owned, and we were going to live there. We were going to help fix it up a little bit. It had been a place that had kind of been forgotten about, and so and we're open to things like that. And we moved into it and just started putting some work into it, and felt like we were getting closer to kind of what the lifestyle that we wanted for our family at that time, which had not been had not, it was just the two of us, but for the future, kind of what our goals were. And once we got married, I was just on Zillow one day and I was poking around. I was just curious what our buying power could afford us, and it turned out in that area, not really much. So I was on Zillow and I looked up Del Norte County to see comparatively what their real estate prices were compared to Humboldt County, and I found this property that we live in now, and it was a short sale. It had acreage, which was important to us. We wanted land. It was in the woods. It was kind of removed from any main, not that you would consider Crescent City a main, kind of hub for really anything, but we were far away from close neighborhoods, busy neighborhoods, and it was perfect. And so we just kind of pulled the trigger, and that's it was this very long process, but I've always felt like since she and I had met, that our lives were kind of in one way or another steering us towards this location.
Very
So
cool. That's a cool
yeah,
story.
yeah,
And
it's
so,
been a
what
fun
were
experience.
your initial thoughts of Del Norte County and those first, couple of years of being here? Do you remember?
I do. When I first found out about Del Norte County, I mean, a lot of people that you speak to probably have never heard of Del Norte
Yeah.
County or Crescent City. Some people say, they know Crescent City because they're familiar with
Yeah.
the redwoods, and it's been gaining popularity, a lot of popularity in the wake of all the COVID stuff and everybody trying to get out of crowded populations for one reason or another. And so the secret's kind of out on Del Norte County as far as being a absolutely stunning place for natural
Yeah.
beauty. Um, but when I first found out about it, I didn't know anything other than it was rural and there wasn't much industry here. There wasn't a if you moved here and you didn't have a job or in the trades, or you weren't looking for to become work in public administration or for law enforcement or something like that, there wasn't really a robust job market here. And so that basically defined my my perception of Del Norte County. But when I got here, and when I visited here, Sarah actually brought me up here for Thanksgiving, one of the first years that we were dating, and I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe that I had never heard about the natural beauty of this place,
Mhm.
um, because it's absolutely breathtaking when you go to the Smith River and you see that emerald green water, or you go to the redwoods and you see that just the grandeur of the trees there. It's something that I can't believe I had never considered a place like this to be somewhere that I would want to live when I was
Yeah.
young. And so I mean, I thought that there was going to be a lot to adjust to, for certain, living in an area that, didn't have the restaurant life that the kind of food scene that we were used to in Portland. There's not, like a professional sports team or anything like that nearby that you could get behind, or that your kids could, support growing up, which I always thought was really fun for me. And so there was considerations that there were some things that we were considering in those regards, but I had never at any point questioned whether or not the decision we made was the right one, because all of the trade-offs we got for kind of foregoing those other luxuries, having a grocery store, having a Safeway within a mile of your house, or, walking across the street to a Home Depot or something, just some things like that some people enjoy, that you can't really living out in a place like we live. But again, for all the good that's come of this, and for all the benefits of living in a rural area, especially one this beautiful, I don't think I would ever consider going the opposite direction.
Yeah, I mean, at this point now, especially for me too, I would think uh it would be hard to move anywhere. That's for sure.
Yeah,
And even
absolutely.
if I was to move somewhere, I really wouldn't want to completely cut all ties to Del Norte. That's for sure. I definitely want a place to come back to.
Yeah, that uh, I can't imagine ever being put in a position to leave here. I mean, I would scratch and claw to to
Yeah.
keep whatever tie I could to this area,
Yep.
whether that's,
Yep.
real estate or whatever the case might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I can't view another place now, I think, through an objective lens after having lived here, as far as what
Yeah.
it would offer me if I were to move there. And of course, I haven't. I'm sure there's plenty of beautiful rural places that offer something similar, but this place has become so dear to me. I can't imagine something offering more. I really can't.
Yeah. Now, how as a because you're an entrepreneur and you've run businesses in the past and in outside of Del Norte and in Del Norte. Talk about living in Del Norte as an entrepreneur and as a business person and how that transition has been for you.
Yeah. Well, I've been working from home since 2013, and that was roughly around the time, coincidentally, that I convinced my dad that we should have a remote workplace, because we had an office location for probably 6 or 7 years at that point, and I thought it would be a good idea to lean out a little bit, and so we got rid of our office, and everybody started working from home. And so I was lucky in the sense that when I decided to move here, I already had a solid foundation for organizing myself to the extent that I'm able to do that, but organizing myself to work at home in an office. And really, I mean, it wasn't a tough transition for me at that point. And being able to work from my home, which my property is beautiful. I love my house. I love my property. I love waking up in the morning, and every morning I get to kiss my daughter when she wakes up, and my wife and I have our time to talk and discuss things that we're either doing that day or that week, or things that we're focusing on for the near term, even long term goals. And if I were living in a place where there was that kind of central location where there's a lot of industry, then I probably would be commuting to an office.
Yeah.
I probably would, be spending most of my day away from my family, and then occasionally being able to slip away to take my daughter to t-ball practice, or, whatever the case might be. So from that aspect, everything has been great as far as working from home. I don't have to worry at this point, I don't have to worry about employees. And so we're not hiring from a local talent base here. I don't have an office where I'm concerned with the cost of utilities or the cost of rent. But if I did, I think this would be a great place because there is cheap commercial rent available downtown. And because there's not a lot of people yet who have moved here and who have injected this entrepreneurial dynamism into the community, then there's not, there's not a lot of people competing for office space. And so if you were going to start a business or if you were going to move a business here, it's pretty much, you kind of have open reign as far as, where you want to work. If you have people who can work remotely, you don't have to worry about trying to attract talent here. Or if you could relocate a business here, I mean, it would be an excellent place to do that just because of the cost considerations.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Um,
agree with that. I mean, there is this advantage that you have as an entrepreneur coming into a smaller town, in that there's just not a lot of competition
right.
for whatever industry that you are picking. And so, just because the economy just isn't big enough to have to support a bunch of different places or a different specific businesses. And so, yeah, I think that's a real opportunity for people. And I don't know if people feel that way. I mean, I think it's hard to, for example, in real estate, there's only so many houses that are going to get sold in Del Norte County over a year.
Right.
And if you were to move to an area that was bigger, that piece of the pie would be a lot bigger. But I think there's going to be, people who are eating more of that pie than you are. So I feel like in a rural towns, the ability to compete is a little bit easier than moving to a big town. That's just my feeling about it. I don't know if that's true or not.
No, I would say it's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what opportunities do you see for Del Norte?
Um, I'm not sure. I think again, anybody who would move here and start a business, like you'd mentioned, there's first of all within this community not a lot of competition. And so one thought that comes to mind is if someone were to move here and let's say an employee decided to go out on their own and start a business, because that is something that's just kind of part of the entrepreneurial process, is that you start to gain kind of the confidence and the risk aversion as you learn a particular skill in an industry and then think that, well, I could maybe do this better than my boss. Maybe I'll start a business. And so I think, when I was in freight and we were in the Bay Area, one of the considerations that we always had when we were hiring somebody is, well, what if they come in, they learn the business, and then they go to a competitor with, hey, like, look, I've got this book full of business. I have something to offer to you. And it sounds kind of slimy, but it happened very frequently. And so I don't really know where I was going with that, but I guess just piggybacking off of the discussion about, the competition being pretty much open here.
Yeah.
Um, opportunity for growth. I mean, there's a lot of real estate here that could be developed. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people that could come in and really have a positive impact on the community if they were to be bringing in sources of revenue from outside the county. I mean, we have plenty of restaurants here. We have plenty of, insurance companies here serving the local community. We have plenty of those types of businesses, real estate offices, as you know very well, they're popping up left and right.
Mm-hmm.
And so things that kind of circulate the incomes within a community, I don't think are really at this point going to be adding to what Del Norte County can, adding any economic benefit to Del Norte County. So if people were to come in and bring in some outside sources, some internet-based businesses that have customers all over the country, if it's tech or whatever the case might be, I think there's a lot of opportunity for beautification of the industrial areas here, and just for growth. Providing more housing for people, more multifamily housing units here. I think at this point, the way that things are zoned, and you probably know this better than I do, but the way that I imagine it is that things are still, they're kind of at their bandwidth at this point. And so expansion beyond that to serve people who are looking for, an apartment or for a rental home as opposed to a home for purchase. I think that opportunity is there if we were
Yeah.
to get some more income circulating through the company, through
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah. Now, so you have a couple of short-term rental properties and just kind of talking about opportunities in Del Norte. What are your thoughts on the tourism industry and how you kind of see that playing out for you and your life moving forward?
Sure. It's a major source of opportunity for people who live here. Uh, Obviously, a lot of people, many people travel from all over the world. I mean, we've had people stay in our rentals from Paris, from London. We've had a couple from Perth, Australia, um, come here to enjoy the what Del Norte County has to offer. And so I think that that industry is going to be growing. Of course, it's hindered by the fact that inflation is so high, that the cost of traveling is so high. And so I've seen layoffs from pretty big companies recently, and so I think there's a little bit of hesitance for people to plan big trips. But I think just moving forward in the future, as far as people coming to Del Norte County, again, I think the secret's out. I don't think it's one of those things I think it's one of those things that many people now have on their bucket list as far as vacationing at some point in their life. And so I think that industry is going to continue to grow. I think there's a lot of opportunity for people outside the vacation rental home side of things to provide services, to provide entertainment to people who are coming here and traveling and looking for something to do. Because outside of the natural beauty here, you're really limited as far as what you can do for entertainment in this area outside of going to Brookings or even a further trip than that. So I think the opportunity would be there as far as providing uh, something of value, some entertainment for people who are coming here and looking to add a number of things to their schedule, not just see the redwoods, see the river, see the ocean.
Sure.
And you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that's where I think a good opportunity lies here for people
Yeah.
who are enterprising.
Well, okay, speaking of that then, how do you 'cause, I mean you've chosen to raise your family here in Del Norte.
Mm.
And how has that experience been? And what would you say to someone who was living in a city or living in some kind of suburban place and they're thinking about, moving to someplace more rural, but they have exactly that limitation, what you just said, which is, we'd like to move someplace rural, but we're just not sure there would be enough things for us to do, or we really are enjoying, we don't know if we could live without the amenities that a city has.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly an adjustment. I mean, we had to adjust to that, but it didn't take very long to do so. But I guess on a grander scale, I would say if if living rurally is a place that is pulling at you, such that you're considering leaving suburbia, but one issue that you have is that there's not the recreation or the nightlife or the food scene that you want, then come here and create that. Be a part of creating it because that opportunity is available for you here. Um, you know, I, I do think the food scene here is a little bit crowded. There's a lot of restaurants that have been here for a long time. But the more competition that comes in, people got to, they have to start stepping up their game. And people here vote with their dollars as far as what's worthy of staying and what is not. And
Absolutely.
so I think there's huge opportunity all around. And as more people move here, which it seems like we've had an influx of people coming here, I'm not sure if the population numbers would bear that out, but it seems that way to me. And so as that happens, there's going to be more retail opportunity there for people. There's going to be more, again, recreation opportunity there for people. And so there are gaps here that people can step in and fill if they were, enterprising enough to do that. And I
Mhm.
think that's a huge opportunity for Del Norte County in the future.
Mhm. And then how do you feel about just raising your daughter here?
Oh, I my kid is uh, she is she's so adventurous. She has such an intense love of the outdoors. I mean, I can't imagine that. I think a lot of people are born with that inclination, but you grow up in a city and you're just not exposed to it on a daily basis. And it's just kind of commonplace for people to, let's say, go outside and make sure you always have shoes on. Don't go play in the mud. You're going to get dirty. Don't go fumbling around with bugs and things like that. You're going to get dirty. Don't go touching birds. You're going to get a disease from them. I think that's unfortunate. I was raised that way, and it comes from a loving place. It comes from a place of caution. Parents want their children to be healthy and happy, but my daughter's outside every day running around in the woods, and we're lucky enough to have animals here, and so she's she's made this game out of letting them out and then chasing them all and wrangling them and getting them back in the coop. And I just think there's so much value in that as far as like personal growth and development. And so I feel very fortunate to be in a position to where I can raise my daughter in that type of environment. And I wish I had opportunities like that when I was a kid. I mean, every week to get the exposure to the natural environment to the extent that Emory has on a daily basis. I mean, we took trips, like 7-day camping trips every year, and that was my exposure to a lake, to a natural water formation. I mean, some of them are reservoirs, obviously, but to be in a situation like that, to be in the woods, to be around fewer and fewer people, and less light pollution and noise pollution, and being able to really see the stars and just fully embrace that part of us that I think is very much longing to be back in it. I think I couldn't give my daughter a better gift as far as raising her in a certain area. The education, the public schooling system here was obviously a concern for me. I don't think it's known for being of very high quality, but again, I think that's my primary focus as far as raising my daughter is being a supplement of education for her, and being able to, if there is a situation where I think, let's say, well, we're homeschooling our kid, but I'm speaking in general. And if your kid is in a public schooling system and you don't believe that the teacher is a good teacher, you don't believe that your kid is going to get a quality education through that institution, well, then you should be supplementing her education. You should be making sure that she's exposed to a bunch of different topics from a bunch of different sources so that she grows up as a well-rounded individual. And we, in the last couple of years, decided that we were going to homeschool our kid, and this is a perfect place to homeschool a kid. And so there are things that we do wish we had more of, which was the exposure to more families who are doing this. But again, we've done something about that, right? I mean, our wives and wives of other people that through business, and that we just know through personal connections have reached out to each other, and they're facilitating these meetups between the parents and the kids, and making sure that they're doing these events. And there is still intramural sports for children at this age. And so we've got Emory in golf. We had her in basketball, and then it got canceled. We had her in t-ball. We want to get her in basketball again. I'm looking at other things we can do for her, like possibly getting her out surfing or whatever the case might be. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities for a family to involve their kids in something that teaches them life skills that are great for them, that gets them around other children, interacting in play, which in rural areas you just kind of figure is going to be less so than in suburban areas, and that's just always going to be the case. But I think a lot of people might have that hesitancy, thinking, well, I'm going to a rural place and I don't know if my kid's going to have interaction with other kids. And it's just you have, it's within you to be able to change that, to be able to provide that type of opportunity for your kid. You just have to be active and find more active here in finding those resources and those outlets.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. I think that's a great answer to it. That as a parent, or just even as an individual, you need to supplement that experience. So whether that's for your kids or for yourself, if you're not getting those things in that you want to get from the city here, then you need to find a way to either create those things for yourself, create them for your community, and or just move your focus to something else and get that same whatever you were needing. You can find that in another area, whether that's getting more involved in the outdoors, or raising animals, or whatever. So
Right.
very cool. Well, Adam, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
how can people connect with you and learn more about your business?
They can email me. My email at work is adam.rose@modetransportation.com. And I'm happy to, if anybody is interested in moving here. I mean, I might have a biased opinion of how great it is to live here, but I'm happy to talk about it. I'm happy to share the insights I have with people who are considering coming here. And I love talking about it. I talk to my friends about it all the time. I try to convince all my friends to move here. I mean, you don't know what you're missing out until you take that plunge from city life into rural life. It's just it's I don't know, it's really special.
Very cool. Well, thank you
Yeah.
again so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Cool, man.
Cool, dude. That was great.
That was good.